Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
My next guest is Larry McDonald, who is one of the top investors in the country, just one of the real smart guys. And he has a great book that I wanted to bring to your attention, and that's why I brought him on the show. Larry McDonald is the author of another book you can get on Amazon called Listen When Markets Speak, How to Listen When Markets Speak. So, Larry, thanks so much for joining.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so what does that mean, listen to when markets speak?
Well, Steve, you hear a lot from analysts on Wall Street, and they're talking about data centers, they're talking about artificial intelligence, but you want to track the infrastructure for this. In other words, you want to look at the price of copper, you want to look at the price of electricity, and you want to try to connect the dots. And so you want to listen to when the markets are speaking, and the markets are telling us right now that copper prices are really going to skyrocket potentially over the next decade because they're just building too many data centers. There's too much pressure on the power grid. And so we're trying to listen when markets speak, and we're looking for those clues for the future.
So hold on. Let me just stop you right there. So copper, I agree with you. I think commodities have done very well this year, even more better than the stock market. So gold and silver, but also commodities like copper. And copper is essential for our electric power system, right?
Essential. I mean, the power grid in the United States, the power grid, Steve, is 30 years old in some places.
It's unbelievable. It's one of our greatest vulnerabilities. I mean, we need to protect our power grid system. If terrorists really wanted to destroy the country, rather than, blowing up a building, if they blow up our power centers, we're screwed.
Yes, and the grid is so stressed now, and now we're going to put another 1,000 data centers. So listen to this, Steve. Copper miners this year up 63%.
Wow.
Amazon and Apple are essentially unchanged year to date. This is a new kind of regime that we talk about in the book. It's a whole new portfolio construction.
Yeah,
everyone's long. Everyone's long the 2010 to 2020 portfolio. You know what I mean? No one's thinking about the next portfolio.
So right before you came on the show, you emailed me a chart that shows the growth of the copper prices. I knew copper was up, but I didn't realize it was up by that much. What other commodities do you like?
Well, we talk about in the book uranium around nuclear power.
Oh, I bought uranium. I bought uranium about 2 years ago, and it's doing great.
Yes, and it's still in a bull market. Remember, these commodities go in like 10-year bull markets. So uranium was in a 10-year bear market, and now we're basically in the second year of a new bull market.
Yes,
and the amount of power, the amount of nuclear power plants coming online globally is something.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, Larry. I mean, nuclear. Even my Democratic friends are starting to come around to nuclear. And we are going to be building nuclear plants, and not just in the United States. China's building nuclear plants. A lot of European countries are going back to nuclear. So it's very simple. You need uranium for nuclear power, right?
Right. And natural gas has been in a bear market. What happened, Steve, this year, a lot of the Wall Street consultants were predicting a really, really hot summer in the Northeast, and it came in very cool, and so air conditioning.
So much for global warming.
Low.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But because of that natural gas prices really collapsed, and so natural gas companies that produce natural gas, that create natural gas, like Antero or Range Resources, these stocks are really great values because once again, natural gas is going to be the key for artificial intelligence and power.
So you think I want to be clear on what you're saying. So natural gas prices, you're right, are very low. They're down to about $2. But you're saying you think because demand is going to go up, that natural gas, you want to buy natural gas or not?
Yes. Yeah. In other words, they're going to build these data centers around the United States.
Yes.
So right now, if you think of like consumption of electricity over the next 10 years, potentially 20% of our electricity demand is going to come from these data centers. And
for sure. I mean, actually, I've seen statistic that the data center, in fact, I'm an investor in a data center, And we're building data centers all over the country, and they're going to, you know this, Larry. I mean, they're going to double to triple our electricity demand over the next 10 to 15 years. So anything that we need for generating electricity is going to be probably a very hot commodity.
Right. And Steve, you're a real pioneer in terms of understanding populism. You were out there 6 years ago. You saw these changes. If these guys in Washington don't get out in front of this is a real disaster for politicians, because these data centers and all these billionaires are going to increase the prices of electricity, and Joe Lunchpail is going to end up holding the bag, right? So we need a lot more natural gas, a lot more nuclear power to prevent real populist uprising.
Now, you sent me some other charts as well of things that you were high on in terms of the trends. What else? I think copper, I agree with you. I think copper is it's going to be in great demand. And look, if something's in great demand, the price goes up. What else?
Well, the big themes of robotics is another one. So Elon Musk is talking about 100 million robots, right?
Right.
And
right.
The 100 million.
So basically,
robots,
everybody's going to have their own robot at some point.
Everyone's got to have their own. But think of the copper and the rare earths that are in there, right? So it's the metals, the what we call the rare earths. So the REMX ETF owns a lot of these rare earths. So it's really the book is about how to listen to the market speak, and it's about a great migration of capital moving from financial assets. Steve, financial assets, these are just stocks, are just paper certificates. Everyone in the next 10 years is going to have to own companies that own hard assets. So from financial assets, paper certificates, over to hard assets. That's the big theme of the book.
So let me ask you a question about that then, because, in terms of owning hard assets, gold is a good example, although gold is more, it has many functions. But do you buy, when you buy these commodity assets, do you buy the actual commodity itself? Do you buy the companies that make the copper? How's the most efficient way to own these assets?
Well, take silver, for example. Owning the companies that search for silver, like Hecla Mining, it's risky because they're going around the world in some dangerous places, right? And some are safe and some are dangerous. But so the safer way is just to own the commodities, so the SLV ETF. But think of this stat. My dad was telling me about this. We wrote about this in the book. But silver historically can be about anywhere from 2 to 3% of financial assets, right? Like in the 80s, silver was 3% of all financial assets. So families own gold and silver, right? Right now, it's less than 1%. So what's happening is, if you look at that gold-silver ratio, that's gone from, say, 88 down to, say, the low 80s. But in a real commodity bull market, Steve, that gold-silver ratio should be in the 50s or 60s. So that tells you that silver is going to dramatically outperform gold, going forward, because you have all that solar demand, plus you have this currency debasement trade going on, because of all the deficit spending in Washington.
Right. So we have let's see, gold is up about 42% this year. Silver is up, is it not?
It's up a lot, but that's the point is, Steve, the jaw-dropping point is the ownership of assets, of American wealth. People just don't own, you're really like anybody that owns silver, people look at you like you have three heads, because everyone's in NVIDIA, everyone's in Amazon, everyone's in these old, the 2010 to 2020 portfolio. But my prediction is we're going back to that 1968 to 1981 type regime where.
Oh my God! I hope not. That was the worst market. That was the most bearish market we ever had. Right? Well,
what I mean is, 5 years from now, people are going to own a lot more commodities, right? So silver is going to go from 1% to maybe 3% of American ownership.
That's a huge increase. Yeah. So the book, the book, by the way, is How to Listen when markets speak. And I think that's a great theme, because the markets are trying to signal to you what to buy, and people don't often listen to what the markets are saying.
Steve, I wrote my first book about Lehman Brothers. It was a New York Times bestseller. And I'm connecting the dots here, Steve. There's really something dark going on with passive investing. So I want to make sure that our listeners understand. So think about the top two stocks in the S&P. Is Microsoft and Nvidia. They're now, Steve, they're 15% of the S&P. So the last 20 years, the top two stocks were only 5% or 6% of the S&P. Now the top two stocks. So if you have $1 million in the S&P, 150,000 of your dollars are in two stocks. And that was not the intention of indexing. The intention of indexing was diversification, not concentration.
So these Magnificent Seven, which account for a huge percentage of the gains in the market over the last 5 years, are they overpriced now? I mean, they have huge multiples.
Well, if you look at Nvidia, it's trading at 30 times sales.
It's unbelievable.
$4.6 trillion. That's 30 times sales, Steve. Microsoft's at 14 times sales. But the problem that we lay out in the book, in order for these companies to grow at the expectation to reach those valuations, for them to achieve that, they have to grow. And you're going to need a new power grid. You're going to need a lot more coal. The coal names, Steve, the coal names are a screaming buy down here. Screaming buy.
So wait, say that again about coal?
Well, the coal names are really cheap. So if you look at CNR, so Core Natural Resources, CNR, or just look at the coal ETF to keep it simple. These stocks are trading with, Steve, they're trading with 14% free cash flow yields. They're producing tons and tons of free cash flow. They've reduced debt. But Trump calls it big, beautiful coal. He says anybody in the White House that says coal, he says you're fired. You have to say big, beautiful coal. Right?
Yeah. And by the way, we do, this is a very good point because I've talked to Trump about this. He's all in on American oil, gas, and coal. And by the way, we still get 25% or so of our power in this country from coal. We're still going to use it, and we have clean coal. So this idea that coal is some kind of satanic energy source, no, it's not. We need coal. It's cheap. It's efficient. It's made in America, and it's cleaner than ever before.
Steve, like you can buy the coal stocks, right? For example, CNR, I think it's got like a $4.5 billion valuation, $4.5 billion. Nvidia's $4.5 trillion. So think about it.
Right.
Coal names, Nvidia, if it goes up, say, 5 times, it's going to be 3 times the size of US GDP. Whereas a coal stock that's only $5 billion can go up 10 times, and it's still a tiny company.
It's a big up potential. Very big upside potential with coal. I agree with you on that one. I mean, we have cleaner coal. We got a president who wants coal. The wind and solar revolution is kind of petered out. And so, and by the way, China is building 50 coal plants. Where are they going to get their coal from?
Well, that's what I talk about in the book, Steve, is capitalism really it's just, we're playing by the rules. They're cheating on coal. Everyone's exported their green guilt in Europe over to China, and China's just destroying the planet. They're producing literally 3 times the amount of coal than the rest of the world. The United States is barely producing any coal relative to China.
It's ridiculous. It's outrageous. Well, Larry, thanks so much for joining us. Larry McDonald, he is the author of How to Listen When Markets Speak. It's a great book if you want to make more money, and that's why you listen to this show, because that's the theme of the show.